How's it going, guys? This is your boy Hazzed, and today we're going to be discussing the Runic Empowerment bug that a lot of people are discussing. I've heard about it in-game, I've seen it on a lot of forums, and people have even personally messaged me about it and says, why isn't my Runic Empower working correctly? Well, let me explain that in this video, guys, and also going to be explain why it feels like the consistency spec is not as strong as it was in the previous patch. Now, this is also going to have something to do with it, and the also reason why I'm playing breath spec is because of the slight nerfs that consistency spec received, and also this hidden one it received that a lot of people have no idea even existed. So let's jump into this.
It's who we are, it's what we do, we've come so far, and now we pay the price, so don't even cry. The world is breaking down, and I cannot leave the ground.
So what is Runic Empowerment? Now, if you've been playing a DK long enough, it could mean two different things. But as of 7.1.5, Runic Empowerment is a built-in ability in your Frost DK that has a chance to proc a rune based on how much runic power you spend. Now, of course, with breath spec and consistency spec, especially consistency spec, since you're dumping a lot of frost strikes as kind of your main rotation to generate a lot of runes to get, of course, more frost strikes, this, of course, is going to affect you a lot. And this is also going to affect the breath spec by quite a bit. Now, as you can see, what they did in 7.1 is it was 1% chance to proc per runic power spent. So once you spent 100 runic power, the chances of it proccing is usually 100% for one rune. Now, it could do more, it could do less. There's a bit of RNG there. But with this ability, what they did is they buffed it from, of course, 1% in 7.1 to 1.5% in 7.1.5, and we're all thinking that's amazing, that's an overall buff. But what they didn't tell us is in 7.1, this ability was actually bugged out and was hotfixed during the switchover from 7.1 to 7.1.5. It was bugged out at 2%. So every runic power you spent in 7.1 had a 2% chance to actually proc a rune back then. Now you can see why this is inadvertently a nerf to the consistency spec and of course the frost spec. But even though the frost spec was completely over buffed to the point that it's really strong and we're enjoying the heck out of that as you can play it, but this is actually some bad news for people that enjoy playing the consistency spec. Now I've been sitting here testing out the consistency spec over and over again, and I can't peak as high as the frost spec. I'm usually 20k off at certain points, even 40k off at certain points. The breath spec overall with my consistency is a lot higher than this spec is. I mean, that could also do with, of course, my stats, 886 item level, and of course my artifact build. Of course, the relics could also come into play with a lot of the DPS, but I can't get it to peak anywhere near what I can do with breath. Now, I've been really trying to figure out why, because I know Howling Blast received a slight nerf, but it shouldn't have been enough to actually change the amount of DPS that I've lost. Well, I've also noticed slight holes in the consistency rotation compared to what it was, and that's definitely what's going to be causing it, is that 5% loss to that Runic Empowerment. Now, I had people asking me questions on the channel about Runic Empowerment, and I didn't really understand why. So I had to reach in deeper, understand what was going on, and figure out, of course, what was happening, because I couldn't understand it either. I was like, you know, some of this isn't adding up what it should be doing, and what DPS I was doing before in Mythics. If I went in with my consistency spec now, I would actually probably be doing 20 to 30k less, which really confused me, because with that Howling Blast nerf, I was only looking at about 15 to 20k. And for a lot of people running, of course, the tests using, what do we call them, the character test, if they didn't know, of course, about that hotfix bug being 2.0 and then coming down to 1.5, that would also make those computer tests quite off comparing the consistency to the breath spec. Now, that also comes into question, was this implemented on the PTR, or was it just something they fixed when it came to live? Because that would also make some of my older tests maybe a little bit different. I'm not really sure, but breath spec was still doing better back then on the PTR as testing, so I don't know about that. I'm not 100% sure. But it's pretty apparent to me at this point that the breath spec is stronger, especially because of this inadvertent kind of hidden nerf that we all didn't know about. So I really want to talk to you about that, guys, because I was sitting here talking to a guy about it Where's that at? Yeah, in all these messages, and he was like, "What's going on with that?" And I was like, "I don't know, man. I'll go look it all up for you, or maybe it was this guy. I don't remember which one it was. It was one of them. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's kind of some bad news, and I'm sorry to bring it, but I needed to make people understand what exactly was going on with Frost DKs and what some people probably didn't know was going on. So, hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like. Maybe we'll bring some light to the subject talking about it on a video. Maybe if it gets big enough, who knows. But until next time, this was your boy Hazzed.
The edge of the hellfire.